Hello, kia ora, g'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast for the next 7 days. Let's have a look and see what is going on at the moment on the big picture. Obviously, Tropical Cyclone Alfred coming in towards Brisbane and the Northern Rivers region of New South Wales. It's going to be around for a few days. We've got another video all about Alfred explaining rainfall and winds for the next 4 or 5 days in this zone here of Queensland and northeastern New South Wales. Elsewhere, the high pressure zone to the south is the main guiding force for Alfred, and also obviously keeping the southern states extraordinarily dry at the moment. But the good news is the leftovers of Alfred will bring some rain relief, especially into New South Wales. And there's also going to be some thunderstorm activity around Victoria and South Australia and Western Australia. Not everyone will get rain relief, but some of you will. So let's try and make sense of what is going on. Here is the Friday setup. High pressure firmly in control of Tasmania's weather, maybe a couple of showers in the very northeast. The further you go up the eastern coastline of Australia, obviously you run into the rain there with Alfred, but north of that, going further up into Queensland, not a lot going on, just the usual thunderstorms and showers that are bubbling up, and it's actually remarkably dry, considering how dry it's been in the tropical area where the monsoon should be. That is well off the map. It is very dry for everybody else. The red line here also showing a large portion of the southern parts of Western Australia feeling that heat at the moment, or at least about to, as those temperatures lift up a bit for you. Also very windy around parts of New South Wales and going into Victoria over the ACT, that squash zone between high pressure to the south and Tropical Cyclone Alfred. On Saturday, that squash zone remains, so it's still windy, not so much because of the cyclone, but just that squash zone between where high pressure is and where low pressure is. So it's sort of the halfway mark in between the two. The isobars squeeze up. So windy weather does push into New South Wales. It blows around the ACT and mostly around the eastern side of Victoria. Not too windy elsewhere and many other places, although a little bit brisk here around Western Australia because there's some sinking low air pressure. And once more, that makes a bit of a squash zone here between the high pressure zone out over the Indian Ocean and that low. So windy south easterly winds are looking likely for you as we go through Saturday and Sunday as well. And you'll see the red line get sort of pushed northwards, north of Kalgoorlie, as a result of that more refreshing airflow that is coming through for you. Although it may not be very refreshing for Perth on the other side, but those along the southern coastline will feel it. Now let's move further along to the east. These are thunderstorms forming from Ceduna northwards. You'll be seeing thunderstorms developing across the day and some showers here and there. Maybe not massive rainfall for most of you, but if you're lucky, some of you might get 5 to 10 millimetres of rain. Further over into New South Wales, we're seeing far more widespread showers. That is connected to what is happening as Alfred unravels and falls apart. We'll be seeing some thunderstorms, maybe severe, around Griffith and over towards the South Australia border. Unfortunately, Adelaide, I'm sorry, I've got to say, you stay dry, as is everyone else around you. As you come further down that border of New South Wales and South Australia and Victoria, we see a few thunderstorms and showers there for you on Sunday. Otherwise, large, dry areas. And the showers all up around the tropical areas, not looking too dramatic, not huge rainfalls out of most of those. As we go into Monday, the leftovers of Alfred now kind of expanding, more instability in the atmosphere. That is going to create some thunderstorms, possibly severe, around New South Wales, and maybe some decent showers coming into some parts of Victoria and along the border of South Australia on the eastern border. Now these showers are going to be hit and miss. You might get a few heavy falls in the south on the coastline, if you're lucky, with that bit of moisture coming off the sea, interacting with the leftovers of Alfred as that all falls apart. So hit and miss rain relief. And northwards in Queensland, Rockhampton, Mackay, severe thunderstorms for you, and possibly also around the interior of the Pilbara and the Kimberley regions in Western Australia. Through to Tuesday, still got some thunderstorms around the Pilbara and the Kimberley, some of those severe as the day wears on. Not as busy in the Northern Territory. I've barely talked about Darwin this year because there just has not been very much to talk about. You haven't had many thunderstorms, you haven't had a huge amount of rain. It is not as dramatic as it could be all around the top part of the Northern Territory. Around Queensland, far north Queensland, also looking remarkably dry. There will be a few showers and clouds around. Those severe thunderstorm risks increase the further south you go, obviously as you come down to the remnants of Alfred. So let's go further into next week. So we are still seeing wet weather along the coastal side of New South Wales. So some of these areas are in for a very wet week ahead. And the dams, many of the hydro dams or the water reservoirs, I should say, are already at capacity. So that's going to cause some issues with flooding along the northeastern side of New South Wales, perhaps the southeastern part of Queensland. This map, though, on Wednesday, good news for Victoria, seeing some showers in there. Again, mostly down to the south, getting closer to the coastline, maybe a couple of them going over into South Australia. Not widespread heavy rain, but just areas of rain relief. If you're lucky enough to get one of those showers, you might get 10, 15, 20 millimetres of rain. And further up into parts of Queensland, obviously with the leftovers of Alfred, you could be seeing 40 or 50 millimetres. And the low pressure zone in Western Australia, coupled with the tropical weather to the north, basically you're seeing all that tropical weather sink southwards over Kalgoorlie, over Esperance, bringing that heat, thunderstorms, temperatures going up. Thursday next week, here we go, final map for the forecasts. Cooler change coming into Albany, cooler change coming into Perth, Geraldton, further northwards, Carnarvon, you're all feeling a temperature change as southerlies come in. The tropical heat, that's still inland for New South Wales, Western Australia, and so plenty of showers all across Western Australia in the middle to later part of next week. We do see a few severe thunderstorms south of Darwin, mostly around Katherine, and further out, Dumadji might be getting a few thunderstorms, Mount Isa, and up around Cairns to Townsville, thunderstorm risk there for you. Otherwise, the main part of this map clearly is New South Wales and hello Victoria. Are we getting some heavy rain? This far out, a week away, I would hate to lock it in for you, but it's a silver lining, at least on a dry weather forecast, to be seeing some of that rain showing up down there in the south as we go in towards the later part of next week. Some severe thunderstorms in there, some decent falls of rain. Hopefully this happens the way it looks, because I know many of you need rain. Some of you are confused, perplexed why I'm always talking about rain, because the people who need rain the most are usually farmers and growers. They're basically the backbone of the country because they feed everyone. And so we need it to rain for the farmers and the growers. And that's why I talk about it a lot. But I do hear you, if you live in the cities and you're sick of rain, sure, let me know. I mean, I don't want to only talk about that one part of things. But let's have a look at the 7-day rainfall here. You can see Cyclone Alfred coming in. That is the area with the heaviest rain, the flooding risks there in that blue shading. That's where you're off the key here. 300 to 700 millimetres possible in that flood zone there, basically. Elsewhere, rainfall numbers aren't so big. You're seeing, I would say, below normal rainfall in a number of places, but it is good to see the rainfall spreading out for those in the dry spots. So the top half, the tropical zone, getting thunderstorms. So over a week, they do build up, to a bigger number, but it's still not overly wet for the top of Australia. And we're coming to the end of the wet season. We've got plenty of rain, obviously, spreading down over New South Wales and Victoria. The blue, though, the pale blue over here, that's the bottom of the scale. So not everyone will get the rain relief they want. And Tasmania looking very dry, as is much of South Australia. So South Australia and Tassie, you're the two areas that are looking the driest. Norfolk Island as well. Lord Howe Island, right on the edge of Alfred's rain bands. You might get a little bit from it, but maybe not a huge amount. Here is a 7-day departure from normal. So you can see plenty of areas in blue. That means wetter than average for this time of the year. White, normal rainfall for this time of year. Red, drier than usual. So it's pretty messy. Swiss cheese look to it, where you got kind of little holes and dots here and there where the rain is coming through. And I think this is probably the most concerning part for many of you, how dry it is still around South Australia and certainly the western side of Victoria. Well, that is all from me. Before I go, Tweed Heads, New South Wales is the flight sim place of the day today, the Tweed River coming out here. This is one of the areas we're worried about, with the sea blocking up an exit like that. The water then starts to back up into the river, which is already very low lying, obviously tidal. And so these are the concerns, especially further inland where the river is around a lot low lying flat land. So we're concerned about that over the next few days ahead. What a cool spot. I would love to visit Tweed Heads. I haven't been there before. I've been very near it, but not quite there. So that is a plan to visit there someday. Tweed Heads, New South Wales, all the best for the weather ahead. 1 metre above sea level, like a number of places along the coastline. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again next week.